Hey guys, it's Tony, and we're back on the bench. And this evening, I wanted to attempt to do a special video on a little reel here that happens to be an Abu Cardinal Custom Lite 2. Okay, and this is an example of a reel that's been heavily fished. You know, we can see it's missing paint. It's got scratches and marks and stuff here all over the body and the spool and whatnot. Okay. But in particular, this reel has a couple of different problems, and I want to talk about those problems in detail. I'm going to attempt to do a separate service video on this reel. This is not going to be that video, though. We're just going to talk about what these problems are. Okay, so first and foremost, one issue that we have when I first acquired this reel, and got it very cheap, by the way, looking here, and this is kind of hard to see, and I'm going to do my best to demonstrate this here and show you what's going on. Okay, but whoever had this reel prior to me, they did not put these pieces back in right. This copper piece here is kind of bent, and part of it is above the retaining spring here, and the other part is kind of scrunched underneath it. It's actually possibly upside down, I think. I'm not 100% sure, but this is something that we should be able to easily remedy just by taking these parts out here. And so we're just going to demonstrate that. Okay, so this is a top drag stack, obviously, and it has different components to it that have to go in a certain way. Okay, and somebody just they got impatient and they just jammed all of this stuff in there. Okay, so with this style drag stack, you've got this top washer here that's keyed or notched. Okay, and the deal is that there's supposed to be these fins, all right, that go over that notch like so. Okay, and I'm pretty sure. No, I'm actually not pretty sure. I think it's possible that this piece was just upside down. So what we're going to do here is we're going to bend this back a little bit here, this fin, because it's a soft metal here. Okay, but you can see how that's supposed to work. Okay. So we're going to place that back down in position like so. Okay, and then we're supposed to be able to put the retaining ring back on top. Okay, so then that way this can actually spin freely like that. Okay, so it's just a simple thing. Okay, you want to make note of the orientation of the parts when you go to take apart a reel, okay, especially when you're servicing something like a drag stack, okay? All right, but this is a common problem of what can happen with those parts, and that's why it's helpful to take pictures or to have schematics on hand. I'm pretty sure you can get schematics for all of these older Cardinal series like this one, okay? All right, so that's just one problem. All right, we're going to place this back on here, and we're going to move on to the next section here. So the next problem with this reel is it's got a considerable amount of bearing noise, okay? Now this is a 3-ball bearing reel, so it probably has a main bearing, and then it's probably got a bearing here and here more than likely. I'm not 100% sure. I've worked on a lot of other Cardinals before, but not this one in particular. So we're going to find out more about that in the service video. Okay, but chances are it's the main bearing under here that's the problem. All right, now bearings can always be replaced. Is it worth replacing on this reel? Well, that's kind of hard to say. It's not in the best of shape, but we could attempt to find a replacement. I have like a small box of older used bearings that frankly might be in better shape than this one is, because you can just hear that noise right there. So that's something that we're going to work on at a later point, okay? But One of the biggest things with this reel is it has a major malfunction. Okay. Bail doesn't fire. Okay. Now this is a very, very common problem, and there is absolutely no fire in this bail whatsoever. Okay. So that leads me to believe that the spring is probably broken. Okay. So what I did is I went on ahead and I verified that earlier, and I'm just going to show you exactly what this looks like and show you how it can be a common problem with a spinning reel, and also what you can do to remedy it in some situations, but not necessarily all. Okay, so we take this protective plate off, and what do we find here? We find broken pieces of a spring, okay, and it's in two. All right, so what happens over time is that spring, it works back and forth, and then it weakens over time, okay, and then it breaks eventually, and this is the end result. You've got two pieces here, and you can't use it anymore. Now, the remedy for this is a replacement. Now, finding brand new replacements for an Garcia Cardinal Custom Lite 2 is probably slim, okay? You would need another reel, a parts reel of the same make and model, more than likely. Now, in my situation, I work on fishing reels quite frequently, and I have a lot of spare parts kicking around, and I just so happen to have a reel that's in shambles in a bag, and this is an old reel that I actually have, and I purchased this reel as a parts reel for it because it had some damaged parts from a big fish that I caught on at one time. All right, but this is a Shimano GRX 1300, okay, and you know, it's strictly a parts reel, and it just so happens to have a bail setup that's somewhat similar to this, even though it has this quick fire trigger, whereas this one doesn't, okay? But it kind of has a similar size chamber in it, and I just happened to dig into it just out of curiosity, and I found this spring, okay? And if you put these together, these parts together here for this spring, the one that's broken here, if we try to just set this down for a second, I'm just going to show you the difference here. Okay, they're not exactly the same size, but they are similar in size. This one's a little smaller. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to try to put this in right now, and we're going to see if that actually fixes that problem, because if it does, you know, pretty much everything else with this reel can be remedied with the bearing noise and the you know, the drag stack stuff and all that. So that's what we're going to attempt to do now here in this video. So we're going to take off this screw here. But this is a very common problem, and a lot of the time when you run into this, you end up junking the reel, unfortunately, because it's so hard to find that kind of a part. Okay, but you've got a hole down here that you got to set into, and then this piece here has to go on the bail side here, and there's a small hole for that to insert into. And we just need to set this back like that. That's going to put some tension on there. And no, I have not actually tried this for real, but I just looked at that spring and I said, well, that might work. And if it does, then great. Because frankly, the rest of those parts in that reel, it's not a complete reel. It's missing other parts, and so I'm not going to rebuild that Shimano. It's simply a parts setup at this point. Okay. So there's that, and you know, we can just kind of get a sense of how this works right here. Okay, you can see the tension of that spring there. All right, but you always want to put that shield back on before you attempt to open the bail up all the way, of course. But I've had other smaller spinning reels with springs that have broken like that, and you know, unless you can find a replacement, it's just a parts reel at that point. Okay, so let's give it a shot and let's see. Look at that. Smooth and easy. So I hope that information's helpful, and that's just a demonstration of some common problems that can happen with a spinning reel, and some simple remedies on how you can fix those things. So thanks again for watching. This is Tony with Back on the Bench. If you liked the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more, please make sure you do subscribe and hit the notification button. And that way it'll give you all the updates as to when there are new videos coming out. And I do intend to have quite a few more coming out shortly, so make sure you stay tuned for those, and we'll see you next time.